Hi, I'm Alaiia Gujral. I just did an amazing booth at ID, which consisted of my collection called KŌRA, which is very much inspired by the process of indigo and how much I love and how methodic I feel the dyeing process is. And that's translated over the years into both design, into art, into almost a lifestyle that I want to bring and share with everybody. I think in college was the first time, which is many years ago now, where I had three majors. So at the Art Institute of Chicago, I was a ceramicist. I did print media, so screen printing and like carving into wood and printing. And I did installation with fibers. I make a lot of installation work with fabrics and lots of materials. So for me, I think a big part of this I get from my grandfather in a way where I was obsessed with like this process, and I was obsessed with dyeing everything in it, right? So for me, it didn't stop at like 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. I really just wanted to bring everything together and like find a language or like a harmony that was created through this process that I was obsessed with. So I think I just, even today, like I love how textured, natural, raw materials react with the hand that a human brings to curing, to sanding down, to making this sort of changing its entire like personality into something else. And I love how that juxtaposition, that conversation happens with materials. So for me, it's always been about that conversation, the language that the materials are having, and how we as a being, our input changes that language so much. So that interaction, that immersion with the material that sort of we bring is all very interesting to me. So I think indigo is definitely the source of the obsession, but I think now it's sort of translated into like so many different aspects of my life, which is great. I guess that's the answer. Like, I think nothing is complete, but I'm not afraid. So for me, critique is very important. For me, critique informs how people want to interact, and therefore I can build on that. So for me, I love showing my work because it gives me so much feedback to be like, okay, maybe, and especially in India, it's a very different market to in Chicago or in Europe, where you sort of learn what people want, what they like, the things they interact with, what catches their eye, and then you can sort of build on that. So for me, that's why I don't make individual pieces, I make collections, because everything needs to speak to each other and everything works as that conversation. So it's never a finished piece. There's always like its sister, its brother, like a whole family, like a good Indian household. Like it's always like a bunch of things that, make me feel like this is complete. So it's never individual. It's always a conversation. It's always an interaction. So I don't think any artist ever goes, this is a complete piece of work. So I think it's such a different, because I had done India Art Fair the year before, and I had a massive booth and design section for young designers. It is such a different sort of world, different people, like different, the way they're interacting with it is completely different, because you're not talking about design. So whereas in art, you like it, I want it, you buy it off the wall, right? It's a very direct, you're usually dealing with the person who wants to own it. Whereas with design, you're dealing with interior designers, you're dealing with architects, you're dealing with, a whole other sort of level of people before you actually engage with the person whose house is going to live in. So it's a very different interaction, because it's definitely more, I learned a lot. It's definitely more like, oh, can you make it this size? Can you do this? And I'm like, no, this is my work, right? Like, why? If you want me to make it in 10 different sizes, you don't want this work, right? Can you change the color? Can you do this? But it's just such a different, which makes sense though. As an interior designer, I have to do the same, right? I have a space in mind, I have a client in mind. This is a custom piece. Okay, can I make it like this to fit the portfolio, right? So it makes sense. But being on the other side, you're like, wait, but this is also still my art, right? So it's a very different feel, but I like it. It's interesting. It's more flexible. It's more sort of I don't know, there's more room for play, whereas I feel like with art, it's very much, this is me, this is my work, you buy it, right? So it's a different dynamic. But I think I liked that about ID because I'm not familiar with so much of that buying world of design in India, whereas I'm very familiar with the art space. So it's an interesting learning curve of being like, okay, chalo, I need to have like 5 different maybe colors or marble samples or finishes for that world, you know? So it's interesting. So it's very different. I also think like it takes longer. Furniture is a longer sort of span, right? It takes more time for people to make a decision, more time for the, you know, so it's more of a waiting game, whereas like I said, in the art world, it's like, if you like it, you take it. So yeah, so there was actually, you know, a lot of changes in the process, because when you have something in mind, then you kind of deal with the material itself. You're like, oh, that doesn't work, right? Like, oh, the glass is breaking. Oh, maybe the weight of the marble is too much and we have to like find a solution. We have to like hollow it out. You know, there's like multiple things and sort of pieces that come into place, and that's why I love the process of it, right? So it was informed a lot by what was possible, and then me pushing the boundaries of the impossible, right? So the bhaiya's like, nahi hoga, and I'm like, nahi hoga, you know, like I'm sitting there like going back to my renders, like doing his work for him, being like, we could do it this way, we could do it this way, you know. So I'm very solution orientated. For me, like the outcome has to happen. How that happens, we're gonna figure this out together, you know. So for me, there was no like, it's not happening. It was like, okay, like, fine, if this material isn't working, what does work? You know, what can give me that same effect? What can translate in the way that I want it to translate? So, you know, you have to learn to pivot. You have to learn to problem solve. You can't just be like, oh, it's not working. Oh, it's not working. Like, then you'll never get what you want to get. So that's what I like about it. So I like that, you know, the push and pull and, you know, gravity and like science that exists in this world, which doesn't exist in your head when you're creating. So that's really fun for me. Everything. I think a lot of things. I think my glass lights were very difficult because I wanted them, they're modular, so they're not connected. So I basically want you to like build your own, right? So you can build your own stack, you can build a floor lamp, you can make long things. But it was very difficult because they're all handmade, they're all hand blown, which meant they had to like slot into each other, which meant every piece had to be the right size, right everything. So, and they're very fragile. And then also I wanted the right colors and the indigo and everything. So I think those were difficult logistically. I think one of the hardest pieces was probably my table, because of just, they were just like, you want metal and you want this and you want, and I wanted river rock originally, and we got the rock and it was so ugly and it was like bird poop everywhere, and I'm like, can you sand it? And they were like, how do we coat this? Like, it's gonna see, you know, and they were like, in India you have dust, and I was like, oh my god, there's dust in India. So like, so many things that you don't realize, because in America we don't have dust. Like in Europe, you're like, that's not even consideration, you know. Like over here it's like, okay, but your client isn't gonna buy it because dust will sit here now, you know. So many sort of like, wait, I forgot what I was talking about. Yeah, so, you know, and I think that was difficult. I think my table was the most difficult because just like, and then, you know, I think a big thing was the metal, because how do you attach the metal now to this solid marble piece that we've created? And seamlessly, right? I didn't want bolts, I didn't want nuts, I don't want to see joints. I think that was a very challenging piece. I think the most fun piece for me was my 3D printed light. That was really fun because we probably went through about like 50 samples from like 5 different 3D printers to get the right like color and like luminosity and like transparency. And I think that was really fun because that's a very different new space for me, because I've never really 3D printed or worked with machines like that. So that was like probably the most fun, like kind of learning on the spot, as well as learning how this form was going to be created through that process. So I think those are my 3 big pieces that I felt were like challenging in different ways. I think like our emotional state, I think if you look at partners, if you look at sort of your day, you're happy, you're sad, you're you're vulnerable, you're doing all these things, and I feel like materials translate that well for me. So even if you think about your partner is your rock sometimes. Maybe they're the fragile one sometimes. You think about your parents, your kids, like kind of what I was talking about a big family, right? It's a unit. So to me, like, I think that's where it comes from. Like, I think I like the vulnerability of fragile things, or I like when things that are supposed to be tough look fragile, right? So to me, that's also a thing. And then sometimes glass is harder than, like you have a solid piece of glass, it's going to do better than a thin piece of metal, or, So I think I like that conversation. And I think I related very much to, how I interact with people. Like I feel like I'm very, I'm good with people and I understand people, and therefore you have to understand yourself in a way. So I think that's where it comes from. I like that there's this push and pull constantly, and I like that there's like a flow state, and it's never like, oh, this is done, this is it, right? Like it's always a conversation, it's always a push and pull, and you need both sides, like yin and yang to me, right? You need the fragility and the toughness to create something interesting, so. Very much so. So, people are always going to be like, yeah, this is great when they look at you, if they like it or not, right? Like in India, everybody's like, oh, amazing work. And I'm like, but did you really like it? Like, I don't really know if you like my work, So I think like the biggest reaction for me was people were like, oh, this is different. And I think that was the most valuable thing. People going, oh, I've never seen this. Oh, this is different. You might not like, I don't care if you like it or not, but just noticing the work kind of out of an ID is like, as we all know, a very big fair. Like this is like thousands and hundreds of, so you're being overstimulated, you're seeing so much stuff, and then you're going, oh, this is different, right? To me, that was very, very valuable. Because then I may notice I'm standing out in a crowd, in a sea of like thousands of people doing things. And to me, that was probably the most valuable thing. So, it's very subconscious because I've been making art, I've noticed my entire life. So, you don't stop and evaluate yourself like that. But I think now in retrospective, I think the most inherent thing that I've taken from my grandfather is materials. I think just not being afraid, doing 100 different things. Like I want to make furniture, I make art, I want to make, like objects. I want to make things that like I want to live with, that I like, And I think that's the biggest thing where I've never been like, oh, okay, I just need to paint because I'm good at that, right? Like I've never been like that. And I think my grandfather was never like that. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that just exploring, play, change your style, like, dive into whatever you're interested in and work with that and be interested in it, right? The minute you have a passion, you have an interest, good or bad, you're going to do something that you are happy with, right? So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've taken from my grandfather. The original sort of obsession with indigo was obviously our history, our culture, and the pigment. But I think over time, I've been working with indigo for over 10 years now. So over time, it became another process for me. So the color is very much a product of the obsession. I love how I call it an obsession because it's very much an obsession. But I think the process is what matters. So I think indigo, I love blue. I think indigo will always be in my work, but I'm not afraid to work with, a lot of other pigments, colors, things that give me that same feeling of material and process. I think indigo is always going to be a conversation I have, but I think I'm excited. Like I didn't, a lot of my stuff wasn't purely indigo. I had a lot of greens in there, I had a lot of beiges, I had a lot of other sort of, family members that kind of come into the conversation. So the pigment is important, but the process is more important to me. So very exciting. I've multiple different things. I just got signed by a gallery, which is great. So that's exciting. A big solo show, hopefully at the end of this year. I think my journey is, I would love to sort of paint the world in this. So I have a very good friend who's an artist called Lefty out there, and he was like, cover everything was his tag. And he was just like, I just want to cover everything. And I'm like, you know what? I get it. I want to cover the ceiling. I want everything to be something I use that I make, So I think that's the next level for me. But very much ready to sort of make new collections for galleries. I'm also hopefully going to be with Thought, the House of Things, and I want to build a collection for that with design, and just sort of continue to grow this new language that I'm working with now. It's very exciting.